wherever else you might want to use. But then you're going to get unique content. It'll be exclusive content at the ballpark. So if you want to see that replay, that close play, that bang bang play at first, or whatever it is, you'll be able to see it like you've never been able to see it before. Other scores, something unique, lines at concessions, how to order, all the things you want to do. So yeah, we're going to do that. It's
line for the bathroom.
Which line? Sure.
Wrigley Field, you know, it could be 300 people.
The goal is not to drink a beer every inning, and then you don't, then you don't need to use the bathroom so much.
All right.
I mean, or sometimes, perhaps, you do have to drink a beer every inning to get to that. But I think, you know,
8th grade, man, it was rough.
I'm from Milwaukee, so don't talk to me. But no, I think we don't know what we're going to do this, and we're going to try and get it right. This is the iPad. We're already on version 1.3 on the iPad. We launched it. We launched what we thought would be great. We've already made two improvements in it, but another one coming. Same with our location. We're going to launch something for the iPhone and for the iPad, but principally for the iPhone. And we hope it's right, but it won't be perfect, and we'll tweak it.
All-Star break, we'll have it this year?
It'll launch, God willing, at the July 13th in Los Angeles.
Cool. And another interesting place you sit on, besides kind of at the mobile forefront, is also the personal TV forefront. And I call it personal TV because it's partially watched on a computer that's sitting there on a table, partially on an internet-connected set-top box, partially on a mobile device. And you're kind of a mediator between a lot of parties, between Major League Baseball, between the cable networks that own the rights to your games, between my internet service provider. You also do third-party deals with ESPN and March Madness and stuff like that. But how ugly are the rights messes these days? How close are we to actually being able to subscribe to not just baseball content, but all TV content that we want to on a over-the-top basis, on a forget the cable subscription, I'm sick of paying $100 a month. When are we going to start to see stuff like that happen where I could just go out there and rent the Food Network and the Cubs games and a couple other things that I want to watch? You're kind of seeing that happen in real time. What does that look like now?
You know, I'm not convinced a la carte programming is the best thing for consumers. I mean, we do it because we have to. But I think a better solution, I think cable companies have it right. A better solution is you pay a number that you're willing to pay, and you can eat anything you want, anytime you want, even though you're always going to go to the chicken dish, not the beef dish. You're always going to go to the salad bar rather than the dessert bar, whatever you may going to do. But you always have that option. And so I actually, and this may not be the answer you're looking for, but I actually think it's going to move slightly less a la carte and more sort of smorgasbord style. I don't know how that's going to happen, but you know, the cable companies are our partners, and so we have no interest in going over the top and trying to exclude them. I think a lot of kids, younger people, are doing that because they don't watch cable, and everything they want, they're willing to watch it a day late on an internet connection, or they live out of town so they can watch baseball on an internet connection. But in general, we want to be partners with these folks. We're not trying to cut them out at all. And I think the fan is telling us, go work out your deal in the back end. You know, go work out your deal, Bob, with Yes Network as we have. I just want to watch the Yankees on any device I want, whether it's on a PlayStation, an Xbox, my cable box, on my PC. I want to turn them on and get it. So if I had to think of where we're headed, it's universal access, regardless of what device it is.
And who do I spend that one check a month with? Is it still the cable company, or is it someone like Apple, or who is it?
I don't know.
Thank you.
I honestly don't know. I mean, the answer is I think people would rather just write one check, though, rather than a check. Even, think of the iPhone. You got to check, with iTunes, if you didn't have iTunes, you had to buy these individually, sales would be greatly diminished. They've sort of created that model on the iPhone where it's easy to buy. And I don't think we've done, I don't think we're nearly really out of the first inning yet on doing that in the internet. So I think that's what we're trying to do. So I think if we don't care, you pay the cable company and get all this access and all this sports access everywhere else and all these other devices, and we get it from the cable company, that's fine too. We're working that out. We're all trying to move expeditiously but carefully and trying to support the business model with the fan in mind. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, while we were here earlier and while he was working, Google introduced their new thing. I think it's called Smart TV or something like that, where they're working with Sony and Intel and some other partners to actually bring some of the stuff that a lot of the other companies, actually Yahoo has been doing for a couple of years now, which are widgets and the web and things like that, directly to your TV, your physical TV. So when you buy a new TV, sure, you may go out and you may buy a cable box and plug it in, but you also could get some content directly through the Ethernet jack or Wi-Fi. Are you building for that kind of stuff? Do you care about that?
Sure, I mean, right. There's a set-top box that people might use. Sure, it's 500,000 or a million people. But I don't think people want content on a big screen. I think screens are getting smaller. And I just, so Roku will exist, Box exists, heck, Apple TV exists, PlayStation, obviously Xbox, all these ways are going to be ways to get content that we should be on and will be, and Google TV will be there. But in the end, I actually think people, at least my kids, they want 2 screens, at least, maybe even 3 screens, because that's how they're multitasking now. It isn't so much they've got 65 windows open, though they do have that as well. But they're also trying to say, this is what I'm doing here, this is what I'm doing here, and that's how they're separating it. We'll see. I mean, we're not smart enough to say we shouldn't build for it, right? We got to build for it because that's where customers may go. We're not smart enough to say this is smart, this isn't. But I don't see, my own view is I just don't see people taking a personal experience and trying to put it up on a big screen. I think they want that to be personal, which is sort of the antithesis of, Facebook, where there's nothing that's personal. Everything, hey, come on in. I'm in the shower, come on in. I'm on Facebook, yeah.
Anyone have any questions for Bob? Back there? No?
Yeah, I'll just talk really loud. Can you talk a little bit about your pathway to innovation? There are lots of large companies or sports leagues that haven't done some of the amazing things that you've done. So what is it that either Major League Baseball or this group that you're in charge of did to help you succeed?
All kidding aside, I mean, we start with great content, and if you do succeed, you have a chance to actually see the bells ring. People want it, they buy it, so that helps. But it's like anything else. I don't care if your business is 2 people or 2,000, it's all people, right? And I was just talking to somebody before. Right now we're working harder to keep our very best people at MLB.com because it's a little bit more firm environment than it was 2 years ago, where perhaps we weren't working as hard as we should have, although I'd like to think we were. But for us, it's not regimented. It isn't 20% of your time is to develop or whatever. It's a real meritocracy. So if you come up with a good idea, what Dan said is, and we like it, the great thing is we can do it and implement it and show it within several months. And then I think what the difference is between us and some others is people will buy it. So not only can we actualize the reality of building something, which is nice. Again, I don't know how to do any of this, but the people there are phenomenal at MLB.com. But I think there's real satisfaction for everybody to have someone actually raise their hand and say, "I'll buy it." I mean, we're all salespeople at some level, but your first sale is pretty cool. And I think even, or particularly people who are coders and engineers enjoy that as much as other people. And that's the real benefit that we have that perhaps other content doesn't have. And we'd be remiss if I didn't say that's a real advantage that we have. Because when you build it, someone's going to buy it. And that's nice. Not always. We've built a few products that are duds, but sometimes. We're not going to go into those, right? That was our deal.
Red tie.
Which markets do you think have the most to gain from your cutting edge distribution? Is it the big baseball towns like New York and Boston, or is it the Kansas Cities, or is it even like places that don't have baseball teams like Montana, and now all of a sudden you're delivering something they've never had, and it's a new product, and it's a new customer base?
Good question. I haven't given it any thought. But that's not going to keep me from talking. As everybody knows, having given this no thought, here's my answer. I think one of the hidden beauties of MLB.com is not so much that we've tried to level the playing field with the Yankees revenue and say the Milwaukee Brewers revenue. But interesting enough, the Milwaukee Brewer fan has the same site, which we'd like to think is good, as the New York Yankee fan. And that's not always the case. So we've leveled the fan experience, which I think is nice. Our hope is that the person in Montana, it's more important for the person in Montana because he or she is not going to travel 600 miles to see a baseball game. It's easier for those of us who live in this area to go see it. So I think in that sense, taking the real and making it possible for someone in Montana to enjoy it, I think it's probably more important for them. In terms of making more money, we make more money for the person in New York because they need to have everything, and they need to have it now, and they like to use it while they're talking to you one-on-one. That's very interesting, Bob. Pardon me, I've got to send emails while I'm talking to you. That happens all the time.
Right there.